Hey guys, it's Christina Selena reporting from two parts of the world.
And today we're going to talk about how people are more willing to pay for certain foreign foods compared to others.
So, as you guys probably know, if you follow our channel, Christina and I used to work together, and for a while we weren't really friends, but we took the same transportation together because there was a university shuttle that went from like basically near where we lived to near where we worked, or exactly to where we worked, because there was like a lab in the same building, and we could take that shuttle because we were still students at the time. So in the morning, like on the shuttle, like after we became friends, we would start talking, and Christina used to be like, "Oh my god, like something like in the
Shoes in the
morning."
house. Shoes in the house.
Yeah. So in the morning, Christina would get like super worked up about like one thing or another. Like if you haven't seen her shoes in the house video, like that was one of the topics that she would be like really upset about, or like she would just be upset about, like not upset, but like super like talking and like getting really worked up about something at like 9 in the morning. And then
It's
after
the
a while,
principle.
it's the principle. And then after a while, like if she didn't have anything new to say, I would just like turn to the person like near us and be like, "Oh my god, have you heard that people are not willing to pay like as much for Chinese food as other cultures?" And then Christy would be like, "Oh my god," it'd start like all over, and I would have like TV to watch. It was like a 20-minute ride or something.
Yeah, and I didn't know she was doing that for like the longest time. That she was just like instigating and like, um, sourcing her own entertainment, I guess.
Yeah. What else are you there for?
But so what she was referring to was I had read an article uh, that was like a real like shock to me, just because like it's something that I guess it was true and it always existed, but I didn't realize it until like I read it. So the article was talking about how people are more willing to pay for like Japanese food, let's say, compared to Chinese food, or Italian food compared to like Chinese food, and also, well, this also goes for like any like minority group food actually. Like it could be like Mexican food, it could be Indian food, it could be Thai food, Malaysian food, and it also talked about how like if the people who own the restaurant look the part, then because Americans, well, I guess this article is talking about Americans, because Americans can't tell the difference, like they're okay with like a Chinese person serving them Japanese food and considering it like authentic. Um, anyway, it got me like really fired up because I didn't think about it like that, and it just kind of made me feel like my culture was somehow inferior to other cultures' foods.
Mm. So I also like when she told me this, thought that's pretty accurate, because when you're just on a night in, you don't feel like cooking, you're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get something quick and cheap," but you don't really want fast food, like McDonald's or KFC or something. Like the first thing you think of is like the Chinese place, or the taco place, or I don't know. Those are just the places that come to mind that are like, "Oh, quick, cheap," and like, yeah, it's just easier, I
Right,
guess.
like you're not gonna think like, oh, I'm just gonna grab some like cheap Italian food or cheap French food, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
or cheap Japanese food.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for Chinese food, um, well, so like a little history background on Chinese food is, so when the Chinese first migrated here, they migrated to like the San Francisco area and also like Sonora, Mexico area, and that was for the Transcontinental Railroad and also for the Gold Rush. So basically what was happening to them is what's happening to like Mexicans now, where like they helped to like build such like a big infrastructure for us, and then after they were done, like Americans wanted them like out of the country, so then they started making all these restrictions and stuff like that. People who were trying to provide back home, well, like, sorry, I didn't specify like the area in China that these people migrated from. So these people are from Guangdong, China, which is like southern China. um, so because there was like a port, so it was like easy for them to like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
sail and stuff. So when they were here, they didn't have like the same ingredients that like they had in China, so they kind of had to improvise, and they also had to improvise and cater to the American palate. So that's what all these like Chinese takeout places are. And then also like as years gone by and stuff like that, then there was like that whole like MSG thing, which so people like just automatically associate like MSG and Chinese food, and then like, oh, like MSG would make, or like Chinese food would make me feel like sick or tired, sleepy. Except MSG is in like so many things that we eat, like in like American food as well. And it was just kind of like a report that was like misinterpreted by like a food critic, and it just like blew up. And so I guess like those stigmas still kind of like stick, even though we are like, you know, it's been like a couple generations.
So I went to New York to visit like Christina's family, and they took me to like a real Chinese place, and it was like nothing like any Chinese food I've ever had, because I don't know, I didn't know what places to go to.
Right. So, like a small little reference to, there was this restaurant in New York that opened up maybe like a year and a half ago, and I guess maybe they didn't like educate themselves on Chinese food before they opened it. So like a white couple opened the restaurant, and on their Instagram they had wrote like, you know, you can get Chinese food here that is clean and won't make you feel like bloated or icky. And it blew up. Like everyone was like, excuse me, like first of all, the food that you know that's Chinese food was made to cater for your palate. You know what I mean? Like that's not really what our food is like. And anyway, the restaurant closed down after like 8 months. So like it just wasn't gonna last, like, you know, with them saying things like that. But I think that something that people don't realize or think about is how similar certain foods are, but yet you're willing to pay so much more for the other. So a good example would be, let's say, like noodles and pasta, right? So Chinese and noodles have been around a lot longer before pasta even like came about. Okay, but like yesterday I was just like looking up like some price point references to give you, and this is like particular to Philadelphia. So first of all, when I'm typing in like authentic Italian food or authentic Italian pasta, it usually pops up with like fine dining. And there was this place in like South Philly area, and it's been there for like ages, and each plate of pasta, like ravioli, was like $15-16, and then it went up all the way till about $23-24. Well, it depends on like the pasta, right? And I think I've even seen like $26, and this is just pertaining to pasta. But yet, so let's talk about how, so pasta, even though let's say it's homemade, like they make it themselves, you know, it's just eggs, flour, and water, right?
Yeah.
Eggs, flour, water?
Yeah, basically.
Eggs, flour, water. And, like, for example, a simple carbonara, right? So that needs some egg whites and some egg yolks, well, some eggs, but more egg yolks than egg whites, and some, like, let's say pancetta, and it's all about timing and, you know, and all of that, and olive oil, right, to make it right without cooking the egg while you're mixing the pasta, okay? And boom, there it is, $18. But let's say a bowl of noodles. Well, I'm gonna talk about like a bowl of like soup noodles, I guess. So if it's like a bone broth, if it's a bone broth, it obviously takes like hours to make this broth. And there are also some Chinese places who make these noodles by hand. And like, let's say the meat or the vegetables that accompany it, like the meat probably takes like hours to cook, or it could take like, or like roasted or something, and yet people are only willing to pay about like $10 for it. Like there's no way they could ever charge like $25 or something like that, you know, unless they're like in New York or something. But we're just talking about like general, like, you know, and also like it's very rare to find like a fine dining Chinese restaurant. And what is that restaurant that doesn't count? Guys,
Oh.
got the restaurant for you. Okay, so I think there's one fine dining, like, even though it's on their website, it says like casual dining restaurant is PF bleeping. Oh my god, PF bleeping Chang's. So looked up the menu, and I'm pretty sure whenever people like associated like fine dining, like Chinese food, they're like, oh yeah, I've been to PF Chang's, right? But I looked at their menu. They just have like a wide variety of like Asian foods. Like they have ramen, they have sushi, they have like the like Chinese takeout food, like Americanized Chinese takeout food, and you know they have like dumplings and stuff. Anyway, back to similarities: pasta, noodles, right? I think that's a good example, and also like raviolis, kind of like dumplings, right? And I actually haven't taken Selena to a nice dim sum yet, but it's similar to like tapas, where like there's these like carts of like small things of like foods and like dumplings and meats and whatnot, and like you sit at a table with like it's better if you have like more people just so that you can have like more variety. But like each plate like small runs from like a small size, like you don't get to choose the size, it's just certain dishes are certain sizes, and then they like stamp your card receipt. So there's like small, medium, large, extra large. So small is like $2.50, $3, and then medium is like $3.50, large is $4.50, and extra large is like $5.50, right? But yeah, if you go to like a tapas restaurant, so this is like Spanish cuisine, like I don't think I've ever left a tapas restaurant without paying like, I don't even know, like $100-something for it. Just because like everything that's like a tapa and there's like, 2 pieces on it costs you like, I don't know, like $10-15 or something, or like, anyway.
That's true though, because like I never really ate tapas till I lived in Spain, I feel like, and then when I was like not in Spain, I like looked at the prices and were like, what like this is so weird. Like in Spain you can go to like Cien Montaditos, which is like the cheapest tapas place, but each tapa is like one euro, right? There's definitely like other that's like a chain. Yeah, that's a chain, but there's like other tapas places that are really similar. So like they definitely up the prices in the States for that.
But even in the places that aren't chains, you can get them for like, like €5. Like simple things, right? But yeah, they like really up it, and it's like really like fancy, So the top 2 foods that Americans are willing to pay for, drum roll, okay, is French and Japanese. So like, again, you've never heard somebody say like, let's go grab some cheap French food, like that's not a thing. Like people just hold it like really high in regards, and like I think it's also about like what people know about like certain cultures. So like if you know less about like Chinese food, right, then you'd be less willing to pay for like a higher price, right? And also because you're so used to like paying, I don't know, $8-10 for like a huge meal at your Chinese takeout place, that like when you see like an actual like Chinese restaurant and they're charging a lot more for whatever it is, you'd be like, ooh, I don't know about that, because it's just so foreign to you.
Yeah.
I just want to slip in here. It's like same topic, but like I don't really have a transition moment for this one. But what is up with this like whole taco business, everybody? Why are you willing to pay $16 to $18, like $20 or whatever for a plate of tacos at like, I don't know, Applebee's or like TGIF, like an American chain restaurant, but yet you won't be willing to pay the same at like a taqueria?
Yeah.
Please explain.
Yeah.
And comment below and let us know.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah, I guess I was also gonna say something about like American food. So like, I guess I did grow up like kind of American and stuff, but I like ever since 9 years old till 18, I lived in Germany. So something for me that was like really weird was like the American food that we have here mostly is like Burger King or McDonald's or stuff like that. So I was used to getting like, at McDonald's you got like the €1 cheeseburgers back in the day. So then I would come here and it's like $10 for what? Like you're trying to sell me a burger for $10? But then I realized it's not the same thing. So I feel like it's the same with Chinese
Right.
food, whereas like you have like the cheap knockoff version, and then you have like Chinese food that's like good and like expensive to make. So that's like a comparison for like people,
yeah. So yeah, that's another thing that I touched upon, right? Like labor and like quality of ingredients, right? So
queso cheese.
oh my
cheese.
god. Oh my god. Okay.
Okay. See how worked up she gets? She's just like thinking about a whole different topic that we might make a video on.
Well, we're gonna be making this video, so I think I should just like slightly bring it up. Is now that people are trying to be more cultured and starting to eat more like Chinese food or other cultured foods, there's these like cultural fusion, like Chinese fusion restaurants that's been popping up lately, and they have these things called bao buns. You see this face? Yeah, you're gonna have to watch that next video to see why I just made this face. So, bao buns. All
right,
anyway.
Back to the topic. So I think it's also like when I moved to the States, people like quite often wanted to go get Italian food or like go to this Italian restaurant, and I actually was always quite surprised about the prices because like something that I think like when I go out to eat, I want to try to like eat something that I can't make at home. And I think like pasta and noodles is also like, I mean, we also have egg noodles in Germany but we make them quite differently, but it's pretty easy to adapt to like making this thing like Italian style or something. So I was always like also quite surprised why Italian food was so expensive in the States, but I never really knew like that other cultures had to be cheaper basically, or not had to be, but like were cheaper.
Right. So, I guess like something, okay, so there's this article that, I've been referencing, which actually there's a really funny line in there, and it's written, so an article that I'm going to reference that we're going to link below is written by Robert Ferdman, and he wrote it for the Washington Post, and it's called How Americans Pretend to Love Ethnic Food. Okay. And I thought something funny that he had said was like, well, if you think about it, like if like how people are unfamiliar with Chinese food, like if people are unfamiliar, like somebody who's unfamiliar with Italian food could just think that it's the same thing in like many different shapes, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I like just pissed anyone off. That's how we feel. That's how we feel. Yeah, and how like so cultural, like the amount that you're willing to pay for different cultured foods has a lot to do with like their like where they stand in like the economy and like that ladder. So like we hold like Japan to like a pretty high regard.
So he was saying in the article that like the problem that why people think like all Chinese food is the same or something is because they're unfamiliar with it. But like if you think about like beer is all the same for somebody who's only tasted beer like twice. But like I love beer and I could tell the difference between like Bud Light and like a Hefeweizen and like so it's just about like like willingness to educate yourself on it and like yeah.
Yeah, and his mom, and he also said that like every time his mom takes a sip of wine, it tastes like rotten grapes.
Yeah. It all tastes the same. It's an acquired taste.
So so I think that like people grow up with different food palettes and stuff like that, but I think that once you like try to immerse yourself and actually like learn more about the food, you will realize that there's so many more layers to like each cuisine than what's on the surface or what's portrayed or what's the hot trending like thing right now,
like queso cheese.
Like don't even get me started. Queso cheese, bao buns, like
Just so you wait. Just so you wait. We'll get her started on a different topic another time. You see this? Wait, which side are you on?
It's the principle, guys, okay? So, we would really like to hear your opinion on this. You know, and tell us, like, what you think, and, like, if maybe, like, watching this video made you realize that, like, you know, that there are certain, like, biases and with certain foods, and like, why? Because we would love to know.
Yes. And if you really enjoyed Christina getting riled up, like I used to do on the bus for her, please subscribe, and I'll definitely try to find another topic that gets her super passionate and upset about. So stick around.
It's the principle, guys. It's the principle. And pay more for Chinese food.
Yeah. All right, we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.